Welcome back to Between Pages and Friends. I'm Con.
And I'm Lauren, and today we are discussing our May reads. But first, we have some super fun updates. The first is we started a podcast! Yay! Con and her husband John are leading myself and my husband Kyle through the Throne of Glass series. Join us every Wednesday for our book club podcast.
And if you want early ad-free access to our new podcast, plus an amazing community and a ton of other perks that come with it, join our Patreon. You'll receive access to our Discord community, literally the best people on planet Earth, merch discounts, our monthly book club, live events, and more.
Speaking of merch, check out our website, betweenpagesandfriends.com, to see all of our stickers, shirts, sweatshirts, hats, notebooks, mugs, cups, wine glasses, and more.
I was feeling it. I was into it.
I was like, you could see like my brain computing. It was like really, really fast. And then it was like, and this I think is there. I also pretty sure that is there. Oh, there's children's shirts. Those cute little snack court ones for kids.
Those are cute.
Yeah. Oh, there's joggers.
So yep. There's some new joggers. There's some tote bags. I don't know if you already said that.
Oh, no, I didn't. I love my tote bag.
It's so cute.
It is so cute.
The month of May for us has been full of just so much stuff. We're starting so many new things, and it's just been an incredible month over here. So right now we are celebrating our brand new podcast, and then over 67,000 followers on TikTok and 41,000 of you on Instagram. This is still so mind-blowing to us every single month. We cannot wrap our heads around this. We love you guys literally so much.
So now let's get into our May reads. This month, Connor read 6 books and I read 14, and that sounds like a lot, but it's all one giant series. So I will go ahead and kick us off. I read the first 5 books of the Bridgerton series this month, all in preparation for season 3 of Bridgerton to come out on Netflix. This is a reread for me. I love, 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 love Bridgerton and all things Bridgerton. I love the shows. I love the books, all the things.
I love the candles. I love the makeup.
I love the tea. I love the little whistle down papers. I love Anthony Bridgerton. I love Benedict Bridgerton. I love Colin Bridgerton.
Somebody drop a beat.
It's like the historical romance Bat Boys. It's like the solid, it's like the 3 of them. Mm-hmm. I need them on a shirt. I need them on stickers.
I love that.
Each one of these books was written whenever they were, and after the entire 8 books were released, Julia Quinn, the author, went back and wrote an extended epilogue for each book. Each one of those is about another 100 pages or so, so they do count as an extra book. So while I say I read the first 5 Bridgerton books, this counts as 10 on my GoodReads, so that's a win-win.
What? That's crazy.
In accomplishing some of my reading goals. It's like really fun too to go back and see, like, because it's like their stories in the actual story, and then the extended epilogue from Daphne and Simon, it's like way in the future. So not only do you get to like know how their story is going and stuff, but it's also, you get snippets of all the other characters and their stories way, way, way in the future. You know, for like Colin and Penelope, it's only like a year later. Just wherever she decided this extended epilogue was necessary for their story. So one of the things that I love about the series is that they all see them all overlapping. In the first one, you see Daphne, but you're also getting to know the character Anthony before the second season when Anthony takes over. And then you get to know a little bit about the others, you know, that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. In the books, it's solely about those characters. It is solely about Daphne, only Daphne's story. And so like when Anthony is in her story, you know Anthony, or when Colin is in her story, you know them, but you only see Daphne's story. So like when she goes with Simon to their house and have their whole honeymoon, you have no idea what's happening with the other Bridgertons back home. It is just Daphne's perspective and her story. And so it's the same with the second one. It is only Anthony. It is only his story. When Daphne comes back, you might learn a little bit about her when he talks to Benedict, know a little bit about him, but it's only his story. And so I've had some people message us on Instagram when I was posting about like Bridgerton season 3 is coming out. Oh my God, I love it. And then that was some of their struggle, was the disconnect when reading the book, that you only get one person's perspective instead of all of it. Because the show, you know, it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So if that's you, my advice is read them all anyway. Great advice. Just read them all. But for real, it's one of those, because as the characters kind of step into the other stories, you see how they all intertwine. So like, in this new season, if you've seen season 3, you see some of Colin's story happening at the same time as Francesca's story. And there's been some backlash about that online too, of, I thought this was just Colin's season. Why is Francesca there too? But in the books, it is solely about Colin and his story. And the next one is solely about Francesca, or the next, it's like 2 later. But their stories do start on the same day. It starts at the same time. And so it's just how they all overlap through the books.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is super interesting. And like Penelope's and Eloise's kind of happen at the same time, like their own little thing. And so like you're kind of seeing that in the show. But in the book, you don't. You just get Penelope's point of view, or Penelope's side. And then later you'll get Eloise's, and you see how they connect. In its own way, it's almost like this puzzle. You're trying to piece together the timeline and how it happens. And the writing, the way it happens, it doesn't feel like some like hard to understand thing. It just makes sense naturally. Like it's done so well. And I just love it. And I just love the series. I love everything about it.
You're making me want to read it now.
I know, because it's so good. My plan is to finish the first 8. That's about the Bridgerton children. She's also wrote prequels, the mom story about Lady Danbury's story and Queen Charlotte, which we got the show Queen Charlotte. I want to read those. And then in Penelope and Colin's story, and I don't know if they'll show it in the next season, but they go to this musical at a family called the Smythe Smiths. Like that's their name, the Smythe Smiths musical. It's about 4 daughters, and they all play a musical instrument, and everyone just talks about how awful it is, how terrible it is. And Penelope's the only one that's nice to them in any way whatsoever, which just shows like a ton of Penelope's character in that. It's a big part of the story. But author wrote 4 other stories about each Smythe Smith girl. So each one of them has their own story as well. And so I want to read those as part of this Bridgerton read through. I'm rereading the original 8. I'm going to go back and do the prequels. And then I want to do these like Smythe Smith sisters ones. I have no idea what they're about, other than that it exists in the Bridgerton world, which I love. So we're going to do that too. I do struggle some with the show. Some people like that the show is taking liberties and making changes and kind of becoming its own thing, which in a way is fun to see a different story than what I already know, I guess. But at the same time, I struggle because I love it so much and I just want to see it like come to life. So like The Duke and I, which is Daphne's season, is really accurate. It's really, really accurate. And then Anthony's is kind of accurate. They make some changes, but like Colin's story, it's pretty majorly different in some aspects. The major one being it's happening 10 years earlier than it should be.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like the next book in the series is actually Benedict's, but they skip that in the show.
Right.
And go straight to Colin. They're doing this whole like Penelope's a spinster thing after 3 seasons out.
Right.
But in the book, it's been 12 seasons she's been out. And then she's like a true like 28, 29-year-old spinster. So there's like the big changes because of that huge timeline change has affected some major stuff. So I'm interested to see how the rest of the season will go. I still love it. I still love everything about it. I'm still fangirling over the carriage scene, just like everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
It's just hard sometimes when you do read the book to not want to be critical at the same time. So I'm trying to enjoy it, both sides. But I'm always a fan of reading the book first. That's where I'm at. Everyone go read the books. I don't want to spoil things. I feel like sometimes when we talk about these, we talk about like just like a general theme of the book. But I think since everyone, and not everyone, but if you haven't seen the show, it's pretty easy to see. Everyone's talking about it. You know what I'm talking about. So I don't want to spoil the stories for you, but the books are slightly different. You do learn a ton more. Always read the book. The books are so good. So go read the book.
Well, and I wasn't really planning to read the books, but now I want to read them.
You should. They're so good. I love them. And I'm doing the second read through on audio, which is also a different perspective because the first time I read them digitally. But
do you like the audiobook narration?
Yeah, she has her little British accent. So whenever she does,
cute.
All the things. The only thing that I struggle with is at the beginning of each chapter is when you read Lady Whistledown papers. So like the society papers are read at the beginning of each chapter. It's almost like a little, like in the digital book, like they're italicized. It's its own little section. And then it would be like bigger. Here's the actual story. And she doesn't she just reads it. At the end, she'll be like, Lady Whistledown society papers, whatever the date is, kind of a thing. But like, I'm like, oh, that was the paper. Okay. Eventually, I think I've caught on to like, I've read 5 books of her now. So I'm like, I'm with
flow
it,
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But my favorite favorite is Francesca. Everything Francesca. She is the best. And I'm so glad she's in the new season. I love her. I am crying at what's happening for her right now in the show. I just cannot wait for you to actually understand what I'm talking about. Please read the book.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Add it to your forever long TBR. 8 whole books. Hey, if I can read 8 whole Throne of Glasses for you, you can read 8 whole Bridgertons for me. I feel like that's a fair trade. Mine are shorter.
We do these like series exchanges where like last year you read Akatar while I read the Crave series. And then that turned into a whole thing. So.
Speaking of reading together.
Oh, yeah. We got to I keep forgetting this was a buddy read. We did get to read a couple of books together this month. And our first one that we read together was what we call a buddy read, which was just that we got to read it together at the same time and chat about it and stuff while we were going. So this one that we did is Midnight Ruin by Katie Robert. Last month, I was talking about how I got to see the musical Hadestown, and it made me want to reread Neon Gods because I loved the whole like Dark Olympus vibe. I had no idea that the newest book, Midnight Ruin, in the Neon Gods series is the story of Eurydice and Orpheus, and it was inspired by Hadestown. That was like so cute.
I started reading it first, and the foreword of the book is literally like, whoever the director of Hadestown is, like, this book is based off of your version of Eurydice and Orpheus or something like that. And so I screenshot it to you, and you're like, I am reading this right now. And I am starting this book right now.
So immediate. Oh my gosh. It was so cute, though. I wasn't expecting it to be Eurydice and Orpheus and Karen. How do they say? They say his name like Karen in the audiobook, but it sounds like...
I think it is Karen, but it's Charon.
It sounds like Karen. Like it just like manager Karen.
Yes.
So that took me a minute to adjust to the way that they pronounce the name. I was like, Karen? But it was really cute. This is a 3-star read for me. I wish that there was more like of the actual like romance, because it felt like there was so much just set up for whatever's coming next. You read Neon Gods for the spice, and there was just too much plot in this one. Seems like I do really like the storyline, but
I think it was the wrong kind of plot, because like the other ones, it is a very political series, like in and of itself, because it's all the politics of the 13 in Olympus and like all the gods and whatever. Right. Usually the politics are involving or surrounding the romance.
Yes. You know what I mean? This one, it felt totally separate.
Yeah. It was like they went home and had some romance. They went to work and did something for the work that was something unrelated to any of the things happening at home.
Yeah. And Orpheus was just kind of there. Like,
literally on his hands and knees, just chilling, hanging out.
Sitting on the floor. Yep. Being a dog. Is that what you said?
I didn't say that, but that's what he was. Where did you even hear that? I was just laughing.
I literally thought you said being a dog.
No, but that's what he was doing. He was being a dog. Literally.
I'm crying.
Oh my gosh. I gave the book 4 stars. It's whatever I'm feeling in the moment is what gets stars for me. And I have such a love for the Neon God series in general.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the first ones, like you had me read it first. And I'm pretty sure everyone since then we've read together or really close to each other. It's been one that we together have really enjoyed. Maybe it was just like part of getting back into it. This is also one of the first you're really back with Hades and Persephone. You're not really with them in the other ones, but they're like the first book. So it was fun to
I missed them.
Yeah. And like you're back in their little club and you're back in the lower city for the first time in a while. Like characters go back and forth, but it's like back in that setting that the first one was in. And I really liked just the nostalgia of it also. I did give it 4 stars. I think I just like the world. I
like it too. Most of the books in this series are 4-star books for me. I think this one and maybe the 4th one were my 3 stars, but most of them are 4-star books for me. And I love the vibe of this whole series.
I think the 3 stars I gave, is it Radiant Sin? The one where they're...
Maybe. Yeah, I think that's the one I did too.
The one where they're at the guy's like mystery party.
At the party, yeah.
Because it's very bottle episode. Like they're only at this party. Like nothing else. They don't go anywhere else. Nothing else happens. So it feels like very condensed.
Yes, I did like the characters a lot in that one though.
Yeah, Cassandra's the best. I just like all of them.
I love a curvy redhead.
Yeah, right. And it's so like body positive. Like there's just so many other aspects of it that I like and appreciate. This is all even without talking about the spice part, which is also something I like and appreciate. So it's just all around solid series.
Yes.
Major spice warning. if you're taking our recommendations and you need to know that. But with that though, I, when searching, because like you had talked about Neon Gods, and so I looked back into the series. That's how I found Midnight Ruin. And then I saw that she had also released a novella that I had not read, which is Stone Heart, also by Katie Robert. And it is a prequel to all of the Neon Gods. It's about Medusa and Calypso. It's a little novella. It is interesting, like jumping way back because, you know, we're 5 or 6 books in. So jumping like way before Hades was even known. Like he was around almost like a boogeyman. Like nobody really knew who he was. And Persephone showed up. It's interesting. Like that conversation. The old Zeus is still there.
Yep.
I don't know. Just like Zeus. I mean, they're all not the greatest, but he's definitely the worst. I am really glad I read it before Dark Restraint comes out, which is the next book. And it comes out August 6th. So we just got Midnight Ruin in early 2024. And now we're getting the next in like mid 2024. So it's kind of nice. Way to go, Katie Robert.
Exciting. Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate
girl.
you.
We do appreciate you.
Glen Coco. You go, Katie Robert. Good
Katie
you,
Robert.
Katie Robert.
Katie Robert.
No.
I want to read that too. You're giving me like, I'm getting so much homework from this.
Honestly, the reason I started it, and I was talking to Kyle about it last night because I just started it last night and I've already finished it because it's only 80 pages. We have our book club now with Patreon, which I love. Yeah. And we are doing our Throne of Glass read through for the podcast. And so I told Kyle, I was like, I just want to read something for myself. Like I want to pick something that I want to read. Not that I don't want to read these other things, but there are times where it's like, oh, I have to read it by this Friday. And, you know, instead I just wanted to enjoy the leisure of reading whatever, whenever. It's summer, you know, but with the same restrictions that I have, like as far as time and jobs and children and whatever else. So I picked 80 pages. It's like, I can do 80 pages for myself.
This one's for me.
But it is only, I've not seen it in audiobook form, just so you know.
Oh, dang it. Okay. That's probably why I didn't come up on my app.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. That's like the only way I can read anymore.
I don't do audiobook in bed because I fall asleep and it just keeps playing. And then
I
wake up and I'm like,
what?
You did. One time it was like they hated each other and I woke up and they were kissing and I was like, whoa, something happened here.
I missed a lot.
Oops. Anyway, it's a good one. You should read it too. And I only got back into Neon Gods because you talked about it last time. So we're welcome. Reading with your best friend is the best.
Is the best. We're just passing books back and forth.
Yeah.
Except not literally because we live 2 states apart, but
just a casual 614 miles. No big deal.
No big deal. So my next read of this month was The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. This was her new one that came out in May. I actually almost DNF'd this book. I was like so close to abandoning it, but I'm glad that I didn't. I think I just was like taking it a little too seriously, and the characters are like really quirky, and it's just supposed to be like a fluffy kind of read, but I think I just was reading too much into like, would somebody who is a professional really do that? Like I was getting too caught up in like, is this something that would actually happen? Because it's not supposed to be something that would actually happen. It's just like a fun romance. I really liked the female main character after I got past my initial like taking things too seriously. I liked how like quirky and goofy she was, and like she made a lot of really crazy like outfit choices and stuff. I felt like the main male character was one of those where like he didn't really have any personality outside of just having a crush on her. So I like struggled with that a little bit, but overall it was like a really cute read. I think I also was probably being a little more critical because I was coming off of like Funny Story, which is my like new favorite book. That was 5 stars and like very mature communication and all this stuff. So this is like just a total change of pace, but it was cute. This is a 3-star read for me.
A couple months ago, I had read like a fluffy book, but the author had like prefaced it like, this is fluff.
Yes.
Don't take it so serious, you know? And so there is that time when you're getting in a book that you just have to be like, but what am I actually reading here? And there's a place for fluff. I'm not trying to like down it at all. Like it is for me, like my fallback is when I've read something really heavy or something really like my brain just can't, but I love reading. And so it's nice to have just that. I know what's going to happen. I can laugh at you. You're kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Moment. But there is that
we can have a great time.
Too, that I think fluff gets a bad rap because there are people that just can't make that switch.
That's actually exactly what I thought about, like the author's note that you were talking about a couple months ago. Cause I was like, I feel like I needed one of those, like at the beginning of this book, just because of where I was coming off of, like in my reading journey or whatever, just the books that I had read beforehand. And we've talked a lot about how like your experience with a book or your whole opinion of it, your perception of it can be completely changed just based on the book you read before or whatever. My next book though was a 5-star read, and that was You with a View by Jessica Joyce. This book was so freaking cute. There was actually a lot more spice in it than I expected. I expected it to be more like, not necessarily closed door romance, but I mean, I wasn't mad about it. But weirdly, I feel like this sounds weird to say after saying there was a lot of spice. There was also this whole like, they had these like really beautifully intertwined stories going on. So there was like romance, but then there was also this whole like generational, almost like romance parallel story that was happening with like their grandparents, which sounds weird. But no.
Okay. Just thought I'd ask.
No, they do not. It's a totally separate thing. That's why I was surprised that there was so much spice in the book, because a lot of it's about their like grandpa.
Oh, interesting.
Not their grandpa. I mean, just like they're separate.
Okay.
I'm really not selling this book well. Anyway, what was cool about it was these like generational storylines that were like the romance that never was kind of overlapping with like, you know, because like one storyline didn't work out, it made space for this other one. Like it was just kind of cool. But my favorite thing about it was, again, there's like kind of overlapping storylines, but I love a really well-written story about pursuing a creative career. I feel like anytime an author can really write, like articulate well what it's like to have a creative career or want to pursue it, all of the kind of mental and emotional like struggle that goes into it, and just, I don't know, just it's just cool. Like I felt like it was really well written, and I'm always a sucker for like good writing about creativity. And so I just like, she's a photographer.
Oh, okay.
Like she like wants to be a photographer. Anyways, I just loved like all of the little pieces that kind of were woven into the story. I felt like there was a really good balance of all of those things, but it was just so cute. And I listened to the audiobook and the narration was great. And I don't know, it was just cute. It's kind of a grumpy sunshine sort of romance, like I guess you could call it, it's sort of enemies to lovers, sort of. There's like a lot of my favorite things in there. Forced proximity. And
I feel like anytime it's a grumpy something, there's a little bit of, not maybe full on enemies to lovers, but like there's a little bit of,
like I was grumpy. Super annoyed by you when we met. Yeah.
Like he's grumpy at everybody. So like it doesn't start just insta love. Yeah. I mean, even if he does insta love her, he's still just kind of a grump. But that in itself is its own trope in it for a reason, because we like it.
We love it. Yeah, so that was super cute. I have a couple of current reads also, so I guess I'll go with this one first. So these count as May reads, but I'm not quite finished yet. One of them is Forget Me Not by Carissa Kinward. I love Christmas in Coconut Creek by Carissa Kinward. I'm obsessed with it.
Me too.
I have a sticker on my Kindle. It's so good. I have a sticker on my Kindle that says Frankie Casado Fan Club. I like literally love it so much. It's one of my favorites. And she's continuing that series. Like Christmas in Coconut Creek is a series. It's called the Dirty Delta series. Yeah. Nice. So her new book is coming out, I don't think she has a release date for it yet, but it's called For Pleasure or Worse. It's about like the best friend that she visits in Christmas in Coconut Creek.
And their whole side story?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm like so excited for that. Her books are very spicy, and that is this Forget Me Not is certainly not an exception to that. It is mostly spice. I saw a review of it recently that was like more like negative, but I think it was because you kind of have to go into it expecting that it's like, this is the purpose of the book primarily. It's a lot of spice, but I also really like the premise of it. It's got like this almost like sci-fi kind of feel, like a whole fated mates aspect where they're like soulmates, but they have only ever like seen each other in their dreams. Like literally they've been dreaming about each other their entire lives, but didn't know the other person actually existed. It was just like
ACOTAR.
Kind of, but like very detailed. Like they were in it in their dreams.
What a dream.
But they like had never met face to face. I'm a little nervous about the ending. I'm like 80% into it right now, but I'm like a little nervous about how it's going to end, because I read some of the reviews, which I should not have done, and it didn't spoil anything, but some people seem to be upset about how it ends. Ooh. And so I have some like theories, but sometimes I kind of like when something ends the way that you don't expect it to, even if it's not like a happy ending or whatever. So I don't know what's coming, but I am excited to finish that one. It has been really good, but it's like shut up.
Even say it.
You didn't have to.
That was funny.
I heard it. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it is very interesting, but it's very different from Christmas in Coconut Creek.
We had this as one of our recommendations for our May book club read for our Patreon, because we do a Patreon book club, and we always pick 3, and the Patreon members vote and we read one. But somebody started calling this one Spice in Space.
Because it is in space.
I know. And so every time Con's been talking to me about it, she's like, I'm reading my book about spice in space.
So that's my 3-word summary of this book. It's Spice in Space by Carissa Kinward.
Put it on a shirt.
But I ordered, because I just love Carissa Kinward, I had ordered a signed copy of this book before I read it. The cover's beautiful.
I know you posted a picture of it on Instagram when you got
I have the book. But it came with some like fan art of the characters.
Ooh.
Which was so cool. And it's been really cute. And I like that the main male character has sort of like this like more poetic way of speaking, which sounds so random for like this like sci-fi romance or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. It's cute.
It's sci-fi. You can literally make up whatever the heck you want. And so if he's going to speak poetically, that's what he's going to do.
He reads a lot and we love that in a man. So
that is true. We run a book club with our husbands. So
yep. Speaking of which, that's our next read for this month.
Oh yeah, it is. We are reading Throne of Glass for our podcast. So we're not going to like get super in depth in it because we literally have episodes and episodes of us getting in depth about it. We both read Throne of Glass, the titled book of the series. This is my first time reading it. This is Con's reread. If you want my full thoughts or Con's full thoughts, please go watch our podcast. I struggle with what I'm about to say because I feel like I can't ever talk bad about Sarah J. Maas. So just know that I'm going into this with all of the love for her in my heart. But I did really struggle with this book. And I think some of it is because there's so much hype for this series. And so I struggled with, it wasn't really the book. It was more just like my expectations were not met. I think because everyone hypes Throne of Glass, meaning the series. So I read Throne of Glass, but it was just one book. I think that was my disconnect. I was thinking, I'm reading Throne of Glass. I'm doing it. And then it was just like, oh, okay. Whatever.
This hasn't changed my life yet. What's going on?
Exactly. But there's like all these other books of different titles. It just happens to be this one has also the title of the series. So I am very excited for the rest. We are in the middle of Crown of Midnight right now, and I am enjoying that much more than I did Throne of Glass. So I think it's just understanding the world, understanding the characters.
Yeah, there is a lot of setup. I always say like the last half of the series is really like not that the first half isn't good, but it's a much slower build overall. Like there's still a lot that happens, in the first half or even in the first book. Like there's still, but it's not quite as fast of a pace as like if you're coming off of Crescent City, like this might feel super slow, even though the writing is really easy to understand. It's just like it's a much slower build, but the last half of the series is really like truly exceptional. You got to let her cook for a minute.
Yes. We can't really talk about this with John in the room because John is still reading Crescent City. And so I'm not trying to spoil things, but it is fun having read ACOTAR and Crescent City and now reading Throne of Glass because there are things like
Easter eggs and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like, oh, that could be like it's from this or whatever. And I have no idea if there's actually any ties or connections to things. I will text you those things. And it's like our own mini
book club.
Mini book club
inside book club.
Exactly what I was going to say.
And did you say your star rating for this one?
I gave it 4 stars. I think I said it in our podcast too. Like, I think some of my like for the book was us getting to talk about it every week. And that was fun for me. And so again, just kind of giving it a star rating off of that. When I talk about it outside of the book club, I am like, maybe 4 stars is too much. But at the same time, it's like, oh, but it's Sarah J. Maas. Can I give her anything less than 4 stars?
How dare I?
She's going to come after me. She will know.
She'll know.
I'm not going to offend the queen.
I gave this 4 stars too. And the first time that I read it, like this is my second read, but the first time I read it, I was reading it with John and that was the first book he ever read with me. And so we got to like talk about it as we were reading and stuff. And I had seen a lot of hype for the series, but we hadn't started our Bookstagram account yet. I was still very new to the whole like Bookstagram book talk kind of side of things. Yeah. And so I'd seen a lot of hype, but I wasn't quite as like, I was still kind of intimidated to read the whole series because it was long, but just there was a lot of excitement there too, just like reading it with John and getting into the series together and stuff like that. So I had kind of a similar experience on my first read, but then it was really cool on my reread. I would still give it 4 stars. It's not like earth shattering or anything, but it was really fun to reread and see like a lot of the just like super subtle like setup and foreshadowing that happens in the first book that she just like masterfully ties in later. So that was really fun.
Well, that leads us into our last read of the month, which is the Peach Ring Book Club read. So the Peach Ring Book Club is our top tier of Patreon. And one of the perks of that is doing a book club every month with Con and I. And we end it every month with a live event where we talk about the book and just our feelings and theories. And we do like polls and questionnaires and like all the things. It's super fun.
So fun.
So fun. So this month we are reading Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I have not finished this book. This is the only one on this list that I have not like 100%ed, but I am really loving it so far. I love the characters. I really like where the story sets up. I feel like it's going to end like happy ever after, but obviously I don't know that yet. I don't know. It's really good. And I really appreciate too that the female main character it does feel very mature. Like she has some of her own like blinders on for certain people that she's not taking her own advice, but the advice that she's giving and her outlook on life is so mature and is so like, even for myself, like, wow, that's great advice for my own life. You know,
I feel like I'm going to therapy by reading this book a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And the guy, Justin is his name, his response to her and like taking it is in its own way so mature. Cause there's times that you talk to people and that could be like for me and Kyle, like our relationship, but even, you know, like with friends or my sisters or whoever, and you say something to them that could be, you know, what you're doing is wrong. Here's, you know, another way to look at it, or however she goes about it. And your initial reaction is that maybe it's like a pride thing, or like you put up your walls. Yeah. But he accepts that so well. And it's like the relationship it just feels very mature in its own way. So I've really appreciated that part of the book.
Yeah, I love them so much. I'm not done with the book yet either. I'm like halfway through it right now, but I just like love these characters so much. I wanted to fly through the whole thing. And I was on a roll at the beginning of the month. I was like, oh, I'm going to read so many books this month. And then we decided to start a podcast. I don't know why I thought I could read a lot while I was doing that, but I'm listening to it on audio. I love the audiobook narration. And we were actually talking about this in our Petering book club because the male narrator for this audiobook, I had listened to another book that he narrated sometime last year. And it was something that the book was like much older and I did not like, I was like not a fan of this narrator. But then I am so glad that I listened to this audiobook because I like love his narration in this one. Anyway, that's been kind of fun, but I'm so into the audiobook and I'm like super excited to finish it this week. I'm anticipating it will be a 5-star read for me, just like knowing Abby Jimenez and how she set up this whole story. And I just love these characters so much.
Well, and one of my favorite things about this too is that Kyle, my husband, has been reading all of these books. It's been so fun because we haven't really read together before doing the podcast. And then he's read all the Petering book club reads, which has been really fun for me and like our own conversation. But it's interesting because he's new to the audiobook world. And so he says some stuff sometimes that I think I don't realize I'm like, oh yeah, that is kind of different. Or that is weird, you know, just because you do so many. And so he was noticing there are times when like the two narrators talk back and forth. You know, like it like might be her chapter, but he will say his lines. And then there's other times that she says his guy voice or he does her girl voice as, you know, like as themselves.
I actually really like it. And I think it's kind of funny because once I noticed that, I was like, oh, maybe that's why I love his narration so much more in this book, because I specifically did not like his girl voice in the first book that I listened to that was narrated by him.
I had a book a couple months ago where the lady's guy voice is one of the reasons I couldn't get through it. A narrator can change a lot for the book. It matters.
It can. Yes.
But I do really like it. And I'm super looking forward to our Petering book club chat. Now they're voting on next month's book and all of those are really good too. So that brings me to 36 books for the year. And Con is at 26 books for the year. I think we're going to have to adjust our goals for the end of the year.
I know.
Last year, because it was just you and I reading together. And that's all we did. We just read together. And now we are also documenting everything we read together. So it definitely takes some time.
Yes.
I love what we're doing, but we put our goals like we were going to read and only read.
I lowered mine a lot. Like I read 149 books last year and my goal this year was 100 because I was like, oh, that's easy. Like I'm never going to read 149 again. That was crazy. I was just talking with John about this. Last year I was alone like a lot. That sounds sadder than it is, but I kind of miss it. I was listening to so many audiobooks. I was flying through audiobooks because I had like our youngest daughter was like a baby and she like never slept. So I was just like always awake with her in the middle of the night, or I was always like, you know, she couldn't talk or anything. So we were just always chilling and I was doing dishes or going on walks and stuff like that. So I just was like always was listening to something. And this year is just totally different. And I'm editing all the time, which requires, you know,
listening
all
to
of my, yes, it's just been so fun. It's just a totally different pace of a year. So I might have to adjust mine though, because I don't think I'm going to hit 100 this year.
Well, I was the opposite where I got 110 books last year and I was like, I'm going to like challenge myself. I'm going to read 125. I'm going to push myself just a little bit more. I am pushing myself just in a totally different way with, doing Instagram and TikTok and Patreon and podcast and YouTube. Our daughters are older, which is so fun, but that does take more time and they want you to play with them. They're not just like sitting there in a crib, so just like all the things. And I wouldn't change any of it. It's a fun direction life has taken us. But all that to be said, I think some people in the world, I think I was a person in the world last year that I was so like anxiety about my reading goal and it makes it not fun.
Oh yeah.
And there was a point somewhere last year that I was like, whatever, like if reading's not fun, then you shouldn't do it. That's the whole point. It's fun to escape the world. It's fun to talk about it with your friends. It's, join a book club. Yeah. Read with your friends, do all the things.
Join our book club.
It makes a huge difference. And I get on GoodReads and it tells me you're 16 books behind schedule. And I'm like, oh, and so I just want to change it, if anything, for that, and just, part of me just wants to not set a goal at all and just kind of read and see what happens.
Just set it to 36. And
I did it.
And then every time you get on GoodReads, there'll be some confetti. Yeah. It's the best part.
You just need some digital confetti on an app no one really likes.
But we can't let it go.
No one can let it go. I don't know what it is about GoodReads.
I know.
We should design an app.
It's got us in a chokehold.
Better than that.
We should design an app in all our free time.
Add it to the list.
I can do that. I know how to do it. I just
put it to the list or make an app. Both?
Both.
Nice. Anyways, that's it for May. We did it.
Barely.
Yeah, for real. Whew. It's touch and go there sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. But here we are. We made it.
Yes. Good job. Go team.
Yes. So May has been crazy and awesome in a bajillion different ways. We are really looking forward to June. We made a short list of some of our anticipated releases for June. If you want to kick it off, Lauren.
We love Allie Hazelwood and anything Allie Hazelwood related. She has a new book coming out June 11th, which is called Not in Love. She does an amazing job advertising for these things or marketing. Maybe it's just because we follow her on all social media platforms. And that's why we think she's good at marketing, because it comes up on her pages. But the cover is super cute and I love her books. Cute. Her female characters are always just like strong, career-driven women and men that support them in that. And I just love it. And I'm here for it as a working mom. That's the dream. Read Allie Hazelwood. If you haven't, read all her books and then read the new one on June 11th.
Also coming out on June 11th is Play Along by Liz Tomford. This is book number 4 in the Windy City series. I've read the first book in this series. Have you read any of these?
No, but that's why I made you announce this one, because I knew you had read one. I thought you read the whole thing.
I couldn't remember if you had. No, I read the first book and then everyone kept telling me that I think the second book is the one that's like so good. And I haven't read it yet, but I keep meaning to come back to it because I see things about it all the time and that he's a great book boyfriend. So who wouldn't want to read that?
Well, and there's a new book coming out. So it's a great time to.
Yeah. And there's a new one. So yeah,
do it again.
Good time to catch up. Yep. So maybe that'll be in my June reads.
A couple months ago, I had put out there like, here's my list of reads for the month. I didn't have any 5 stars. Does anyone have a suggestion? And a bunch of people suggested 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. And so I had read that one pretty close after that. And it is amazing. And you cry. And it is 5 stars. It's so good. And so I was really surprised to see that there's a second one coming out. So 1,000 Broken Pieces by Tilly Cole coming out on June 20th. Because the book kind of ends. Like it's pretty solid. I don't know what the next one would be about. I mean, in fact, like the people die. I don't know how there could be. I mean, like you're crying. Like it is a sad book. Like in a good way, sad way. Books should be emotional in some way. Like they should make you happy or sad.
Yeah, they should rip your heart out.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And this book does that in a good way. I'm really interested to see what it would be about. But anyways, I'm excited for it. Yep.
I still haven't read 1,000 books.
We should read it and then read the new one together.
The new one together? Okay.
We can cry together.
Let me just read all 14 books that you read this month.
Isn't that really how we do it, though? Like, you and I both have our own TBRs, and then I'm like, wait, you started reading that? I'm going to read it too.
Well, the last one we have on our short list for June anticipated releases is Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren, coming out on June 25th. I feel like Christina Lauren comes up somehow every single month that we do these.
They like release a book every single month, it feels like.
They are cranking them out. Yes, they are cranking. And they had already released, they've published probably 40 books together at least. It's nuts. And so anyway, it's like they're all so good. Yes, like, what do they put in them?
That's what I was about to say. It's like the fact that they're all good is what is like.
They're all bangers, all of them, in more ways than one. They are so good.
Yes.
Like, most of the Christina Lauren books I've read have been 5 stars. I don't know what they put in them, but they're just like, they're so good. Yes. So hopefully they're doing it again. I don't know. The Paradise Problem is also like very high on my TBR.
The Paradise Problem is one of our Patreon potentials for next month, because we always do 3. We always try to give like a rom-com, a fantasy, and then I think we have 2 rom-coms this month, but sometimes we do like a mystery, or a thriller or something to mix it up. I think it might be The Paradise Problem. I think that's currently in first place. Anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure you are subscribing here on YouTube. Follow us over on Instagram and TikTok. That's where we do most of our bookish shenanigans. You get all of John's reading videos, updates on all of our events. So come hang out with us there. You can also check out in our description the link to our website where you will find all of our merch. We also have links to where you can listen to our podcast, as well as Con and my GoodReads and StoryGraph links. So you can be our friends and stay up to date on what we're reading and our little reviews.
So our monthly reading wrap-ups like this one will still be posted here on YouTube every month, and our podcast is posted weekly on Wednesdays, or if you join our Patreon, they're posted weekly on Tuesdays for Patreon members. So thank you for all of your support, no matter how long you've been here. And as always, thank you for reading with us.
We love our Patreon members. And so here they go. Is that enough time? Still going. Thanks, Patreon. You're the best.